Arms, Wazamoya, Sinamandla. And we also have other NGOs amongst our midst, Black Sesh, Right to Know, and UKZN. On behalf of Oxfam, I'd like to welcome everyone, and I hope that we'll have exciting and innovative ideas coming out of this webinar, and looking forward to more of these series of webinars as we move along. And I'd like to hand over to Wendell and to introduce our facilitator and further on.
Oh, thanks, Pamela, and welcome everybody. It's lovely to have so many people on the line. I think we're really excited as Oxfam to be able to host this 10-part webinar series. I also wanted, we missed out in saying welcome to the Inner Circle as well. I see they've just joined as well, so welcome. So in terms of the webinar series, this webinar series came about from the digital influencing event we had in November last year, and also previous work we've done around social media and organizations being able to profile their work, as well as to do influencing work around public mediums. So we're really happy and excited to be able to host the first of the series, and please join us each Thursday for the 9 weeks following with all the other topics that are on offer. So with that in mind, I wanted to introduce our facilitator for the series. Her name is Nicole Beebe, and we've had a very long relationship with Nicole. We first met her when she was working at Sanganet. So she has a lot of experience with different NGOs and profiling the work of non-profit organizations and civil society in South Africa. And she's also got a lot of experience with the corporate side of social media and managing one of our leading banks' social media presence. So we're very pleased to be able to welcome Nicole, and I'm sure it'll be a really good series. So over to you, Nicole, and thanks for agreeing to be part of this with us.
Unmuted.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Wendell said, I'm Nicole Beebe. I am a freelance writer, editor, content manager, all things digital. It is my passion. It is my everything. So you will find me all over in technology and in the technology world. I'm very excited to be presenting the series to you. So I'll hand over to Nick to go through the technical bits for us, and then we'll kick off with digital campaigning.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Good day all, my name is Nick, and I'm going to be supplying basic tech support for this webinar, the ideal being that you won't know I'm here. Please bear in mind that as attendees, you are currently muted. Just a reminder to the organizers, please notice the small mic icon in the top left of your tool panel, and remember to mute and unmute yourselves when appropriate. The organizers and presenters have the ability to share their screens with attendees. As you might see, there's my picture up on the screen. So that the white window that is usually displaying the webinar's name will change to show the presenter's screen, and in this way the presenters will be able to share their presentations. For the attendees, you will have a toolbar on the top right-hand side of your screen. With this toolbar, you can access two important things. The first is the raise hand button. This is generally used when we are taking verbal questions. If during the allocated question time, Nicole allows verbal questions, select this button. It will highlight you to the facilitators and organizers. The second option is to type in a question that will be seen by the facilitator and organizers. Due to potential mic problems amongst attendees, we usually default to written questions. In this scenario, I will transfer any of your questions to a Word document that can be seen by all participants via the share screen function during the question session. Please feel free to send them through during the presentation. I shall keep track of them and display them during the question period. Thank you very much, and over to you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, so as Wendell mentioned, you have all participated in the digital influencing series, and now we're going to go a little bit deeper into it with each series. This week we'll be looking at digital campaigning, specific and mostly because everything that we do digitally is all put into one. Oh, let me start off. Excuse me. So, digital campaigning is basically everything that we do in our online spaces together into one strategy. So, just so that it makes a little bit more sense for us. Um, as you all know, we are all digital citizens now. Many of us are active in spaces such as Facebook and Twitter. We're writing blogs, we are writing on our websites, we write for other websites, and so on. So why should anyone listen and take action with you? Because what we have to say is important. What we have to say makes a difference, or at least we think so. But now we want to look at how we can use digital technology to communicate better and enable change. The whole idea around this series is to help you use your digital platforms to communicate your messages louder to a wider audience and to communicate a little bit more strategically. So why all this fuss around social media? Why all the fuss around social media and digital campaigning? Researchers have shown that digital activists are operating all around the world on various platforms: Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and a whole host of others. We see Flickr, we see Instagram coming to the fore, and now us as NGOs and CSOs are stuck in a position of, okay, so what do I do? Why do I have to sign up for each and every single one of them? Well, this whole series will look at what is good for you as an organization, what would work for you, what are the type of messages that you would like to communicate, and what are the channels that would make the most sense. As you can see on this map, video is mostly used in Asia, in Southeast Asia, and in Northern Africa, in South America. Blogging, also known more microblogging, which we actually call Twitter, is used in those regions. North America uses e-petitions. These are the different forms of activism and of channels that are being used for activism around the world. So why do we want to do this? Every day we have content that's coming into our emails. We are communicating different messages. We have everything that we want to communicate to the world out there. We have our own activism that we want to get out there. So the reason why we want to do this is because we want to have a result. We want to influence others. We want to enable support. So we want other people to come on board and support us and also participate in whatever it is that we have in mind, that we want to communicate, that we want to share with the world out there. We want to make our advocacy more effective. So we don't want it to just be, I'm making a status update on Facebook, or I'm sending a tweet on Twitter, or I'm posting a video that I may have captured while attending a conference somewhere. No, we want it to mean something. And also because everything else has failed. Yes, we've been on all of these channels. We've sent out status updates. We've made the necessary we've created the necessary content, but now we need to make it real. We need to actually see it we need to see our activism come alive. Our activism operates on 3 levels. We see it as how the world should be. It's the changes that we believe are necessary, and this is done through a sequence of activities. React, to take action, and to motivate others. We want a reaction, we want to take action, and we want to motivate others. That is our role that we want to have within this digital campaigning world, this digital activism that we want to start, and that we want to excite people through our activism, basically. So what is digital campaigning? Yeah, we have, again, I mentioned, we have all of these digital spaces. We have our Twitters, we have our Facebooks, we have our YouTubes, and we have communications. We want We have our outreach. We have youth that we want to speak to. We have our various audiences that are out there. And then we hear about this thing called Web 2.0 and technology, and that you have to be active on all of these spaces. But what does it ultimately mean to be in this digital campaigning, digital marketing environment? So, digital campaign marketing is an umbrella term for the targeted, measurable, and interactive marketing of products or services using digital technologies to reach and convert consumers. The key objective is to promote our brands, build preference, and increase sales through various forms of digital media and tools. Yes, yes, yes. In our world, it's not about having about increasing our sales. However, we want to increase our brand. We want to make people out there aware of the work we're doing, who we are, the spaces in which we're operating, and the differences that we have made, can make, and will make. This is and the idea of converting also speaks to this increasing of sales. Again, it's not about increasing sales or monetizing our efforts, but to reach a wider audience, to make our communication efforts more worthwhile. Please also just raise your hand, or if there's a question at any point, or if I'm speaking too fast. So as I'm saying, a digital campaign is about making our outreach and our communication efforts a little bit more effective. Not a little bit, a lot. For example, a Facebook campaign may be used to encourage Facebook users to like an organization page, and in return stand a chance to win a prize, or to be part of your efforts, or to grow your efforts, grow your outside, your offline activism, your offline activities. This also assists with driving the number of Facebook fans and likes to your and followers on your page. In terms of your blogging efforts, if you are active bloggers in your organization, your a blogger outreach is when an organization can get bloggers to promote their services and products for some form of compensation. So, for example, you'll find that people will reach out to different bloggers that are, for example, in the food industry. There are different expos, and such as the chocolates and coffee and chocolate expo in Johannesburg right now. So you'll find that foodie bloggers are all actively saying how decadent chocolate is, or how divine caffeine and coffee are. So you can actually reach out to bloggers that are operating in these spaces, get them on board, and ask them to actually blog about what you are doing. And in so doing, you are able to grow your blogger network. In terms of Twitter, you can also tweet your campaigns, have Twitter campaigns, and which is an effective way of getting a short message out to a large audience. Twitter is the best space when you have the Twitter when you use Twitter hashtags, and we'll go into all of these. Just by the way, we'll go into each one of them every single week. Sorry, we have a question. Yes, the notes will be shared with you, Mandy. So yes, Twitter, with Twitter campaigns, it's a good way to, if you share if you are able to share your hashtag with others and use them as part of your Twitter campaign. And in so doing, you are able to announce and create a big hype around whatever campaign is happening at a specific time. Okay. So the benefits of digital campaigning: it allows you to connect with online users quite easily. As I mentioned, there are so many people around the world that are active on these platforms. So you have the ability to reach multiple audiences at any given time. It generates comparatively higher conversion rates. Again, this might not be monetary, but it's just about getting your message across, communication, reaching a much wider audience. It saves you a lot of money. In today's life, we have moved away from traditional media such as paper, flyers, brochures, and creating big flyers and posters and billboards and so on. Today, by the simple click typing of a status update, you are able to communicate with a huge audience in a matter of minutes. Of course, this saves you lots of money. It helps you connect with users that are still on the old mobiles and desktop consumers. Today we have e-commerce where you are able to sell your products online. So for people who are who are no longer old-fashioned and go outside into the shopping world, go into your Pick n Pay and your Spars and so on, you are now able to do it online. Again, speaking to the revenue generation, you are able to get people to donate, come to your website and make a donation by having an e-commerce platform built onto your website. You are able to keep on par with your competitors. This, again, you may not be in a space where you are competing with anyone. However, you are able to monitor and see what other NGOs and CSOs are doing in this space. And you can help you compete with larger organizations. This prepares you for all things internet. Yeah, we are in this world of digital, and it is a difficult space to operate in because people out there are digital, people are techies, people are geeks like myself. So you are able to operate in this space, and the best part of this space is that you do not have to be a tech, you do not have to be a geek to operate in these spaces. It's just about creating the strategy, which we'll go through today. It's about being strategic with your and tactical with your communication messages and your channels the selected channels that you will be using. Right. So, what is social media? Social media is content created by people using highly accessible and scalable publishing technologies. Now, I know that sounds like a big mouthful, but yes, that is just what it is. It's content created by you, the user. You don't have to be a writer. You do not have to be an editor. You do not have to have a degree in journalism to be able to use these spaces. All you have to do is be able to write and have a clear communication message that you would like to share with your audience. Social media is a category of sites that is based on user participation and user-generated content. So here, what we're saying is anyone and everyone can be a journalist. It is about encouraging participation and encouraging conversation, building relationships with those in your spaces. It's about starting conversation. Online technologies and practices that people use to share opinions, insights, experiences, and perspectives with each other. I'm sure we are all well aware of the big mouths on Facebook and Twitter who all have something to say. Then again, we might all be one of those people as well, where everybody believes what they have to say matters. And yes, it does matter. And what better way than to actually have this soapbox where we can stand up and say, this is what I think, this is what I believe, and shh, listen, this is what I have to say. So you're actually making your audience pay attention. So social media are works of user-created video, audio, text, or multimedia that are published and shared in a social environment, such as a blog, wiki, or video hosting site. And these, again, can be your Facebook, your Twitter, your WordPress blog site. So, social media, it's participation, it's about encouraging, it's about creating a community where everyone can participate. It's about interests, it's about opinions, it's about sharing, it's about instant gratification. I'm sure many of you have heard this term before. So you have a message that you need to send out very, very, very quickly. And what better place than to do it through social media? Why? Because it also goes viral. As soon as something is said, it can be shared and shared and shared with all your audiences in one simple send button. So it is challenging traditional media. How many of us used to sit and wait for the news at 7 p.m.? Now you can just log onto any one of your blogging, any one of your social media sites, and you can find your news site tweet that may have just tweeted a news headline 5 minutes ago, or let alone 10 minutes, 2 minutes ago. So it's breaking down the barriers of traditional communication. So yes, all of it looks very pretty, but and all the things that we can do in digital, it just looks amazing. And you surely think, I can't fail. Sorry, but you're wrong. A digital strategy is required. Signing up for all of these platforms is very simple. It's very easy. And yes, we will go through each one of these platforms in the sessions ahead. Yes, I'm busy promoting our sessions for the next 9 weeks. Please do sign up. But it's about social media. Digital campaigning is about creating and building a relationship with your audience. This is what is of importance. It's not just about having your online presence. It's not just about being on all of these social media platforms. It's about getting back to people, responding to their comments, responding to their interests, their requests, whatever their opinions might be. It might not even be what you're saying. It may be completely opposed to what you believe, but it's about listening to them and taking that as feedback for your future digital campaigning, or your future communication messages, and so on. This is also what keeps people from coming back. The fact that you are able to respond to them, it makes them feel as if they are part of a family. It makes them feel like they are part of your movement. So remember this: respond to queries, be active in your own online spaces. People will come back to your website for news. People will come back to your website for information. If you are in the business of doing events, or even participating in other events, people just knowing that you are active in these spaces will keep people to coming back to your website, coming back to your Facebook page, coming back to your Twitter stream, wherever you are active. The fact that you are participating, the fact that you are in the conversation will keep them coming back. And so we created digital campaign strategy to ensure that we reach our audience and communicate the right message at the right time through the right channel. So let's look at these steps. Our digital campaign strategy starts off with reach. You need to reach the right audience. This requires you to do your homework. This requires you to know where your audiences are. Then we want to act. So we sign up, we register, sign up. Then we start following others. We follow people who are in the same spaces, operating in the same spaces as we do. So if we are in the environmental space, we want to follow organizations like Greenpeace, for example. If we are in the sex worker, if your organization is in the sex workers space, then you will follow an organization like Sweat, for example, and so on. Then we're speaking again about converting. So we want to get people to come on board, follow what we do, participate in what we do, follow our news, follow our events, etc. Again, engage. So the conversation is not just one-sided. It's a two-way conversation. So if you see other organizations are saying something, you can also then reply or add your comment or add your point of view. Then you want to evaluate. This is the last step in your digital campaign strategy. You have to make sure that your efforts are doing good. You don't want to just be operating in these spaces and pushing out messages and pushing out content. You want to know that what you are doing is making a difference. So let's go through each step, and starting with reach. So you identify your target audience. In our case, it could be our various stakeholders, could be from the NGO space, from the CSO space. It could be individuals who just have an interest in what we do. It could be youth. If we think about youth, they are becoming much more involved in activist activities as the months go by. I think of the Statues Must Fall campaign that happened a few months ago. People were raving about it, and they were social media was a buzz with youth really participating and getting their hands in and getting these messages out there. So the youth the youth of today are a big audience to attract, especially because they are the most active in social media spaces. Then perhaps you also want to address community leaders, because you can see a growing following or growing your networks of community leaders also growing in these online spaces. And then others who we want to follow our cause. Again, this map of our reach, we want to look at which platforms are most used in different space, in different on different continents, in different countries. So in South Africa, for example, you can see that SMS campaigns are a widely used platform. Later on in the series, we'll look at WhatsApp, we'll look at BBM as a group messaging, we'll look at gosh, the other platform loses me now. But we'll look at mobile technologies as a space for reaching and speaking to wider audiences. So you want to know where your audiences are most active. And this requires, again, you doing some homework as to finding out which message would work best. So who do we want to speak to? What is their address? So perhaps they are on LinkedIn, perhaps they're on YouTube, perhaps they are on Twitter, on Pinterest. Many people don't even know what Pinterest is used for, but it's a growing space. Facebook, yes, we all know about Facebook. And then Tumblr as a blogging platform, and then Google+. So you need to know where exactly your audiences are, what their interests are, and what kind of message you can be sharing and communicating to them. So another strategy is required within our strategy. We want to have a content strategy. We cannot just push out messages and not have an idea of what the message is, what it is exactly that we want to communicate to our audience. So we use the basic principles of the 5 W's and the H: who, how, what, why, where, and when. Who? Decipher your audience, know exactly who you are speaking to. Where? Then how? Select the credible channel. As I mentioned in the previous slide, you want to know where these people are operating. Where are they most active? What? Draft your relevant message. So draft your Facebook message so that it is going to speak. It's the content that will be direct, that it will speak to the correct audience at the correct time. Know the objective. This is especially important because you don't want to just push out messages and not have an idea of without you as an organization understanding the goal of your whole digital campaign strategy. You need to know why you are doing all of this. Where? So target the best location. Again, this speaks to your channel, but also where they are operating, which continent, which country, which city. Twitter makes it really useful because you can actually select the city from where you are and see what is trending in a specific city at a specific time. So you know that you can use the relevant hashtag at that right moment. So social media is really smart in that way as well. Again, when? Connect at the right time. So now we want to act. So what is it that you would like your campaign to achieve? You need to set objectives, set the aim of your campaign. You don't want to just create content, create a message, create communications without a specific objective in mind. You need to set goals, set measurable key performance indicators so that you can measure the success of your campaign. So excuse me, then create your strategy, a specific long-term plan to achieve your goals. Yes, we're going to sign up for Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all of these platforms, but you don't have to do it all in one day. Set a measurable goal again. So do it over a series of time and see what works for you at what given time, at any given time for that matter. Tactics, actions to execute your campaign. So you can draft a message, you can sign up for Facebook, draft a message, sign up for Twitter, draft a message, and work with the two, and then see if they work. If they don't work, then you sign up for the next one, and so on and so forth. You do not have to do everything all at once. It's about being strategic with your messaging and with your actions, with your objectives, with your goals. You don't have to do everything in once. Again, social media is not. It is not a train smash. You don't have to feel bombarded by all of these wonderful and pretty things. You can take your time in doing so and see what works for you as an organization. You do not have to be operating in every single space. Anyone looking like this yet? I am not. So now that we've gotten into this, and now that we've gotten into acting and converting and starting to convert people, and hoping I can convert all of you into this wonderful world of social media and digital campaigning, we need to start engaging our audience. This is a fun space to be in. This is a fun step, fun step in our strategy. So don't worry, we won't be cramming everything into this session. We will be doing all of these platforms as the weeks go on. So engaging. This is about starting your conversation. This is about staying in touch with everyone, with your audiences. This is about making your message louder so that everyone can hear you. This is about making your range wider to get your message across. The wider your range, the louder your message will be. The primary focus of your campaign should be that your target audience hears your message clearly from numerous possible sources. So here we have our website, we have email campaigns, you have your social media, and you have your mobile technologies. This is about converging all of your medias and your social media or your mobile technologies, converging all of your communication messages and engaging with your audiences. So engaging with your audiences, as I mentioned earlier, it should be fun. Remember that content is king. In the previous slides, I mentioned that it's about the why, the who, the what, the where, the when. What am I missing? The what, how. So content is always of importance. You do not want to just be saying what is on your mind. It also needs to be thought through. It needs to be constructed and part of your key communications, your strategy as well. So your whole social media campaign, your whole digital campaigning strategy should be incorporated into your company, into your organization communication strategy. Bear in mind that it need not stand alone and outside of what you are doing as an organization in your communication efforts. So follow up on your conversations. So if you have tweeted to someone or if you have tweeted something, make sure, and you see that somebody has responded to the tweet, follow up with that organization or that person or that individual. Follow the person on the platform. Invite them to be your friend online, for example. You can like their organization. So it's about reciprocation. It's about establishing this relationship. So listen to your audience. It should not be all about you. Yes, we want to be as vain as that, but listen to what others have to say. And take it offline. Set up a meeting or start communicating via email outside. Be creative with your messaging. Be creative with your website. Be creative with your tweets. Be creative with your Facebook space. If you look at this whole digital influencing series, if the layout of it alone is appealing and exciting and it's inviting, think along those lines when you are creating your digital campaign. You do not have to stick to just content, but think visual as well. And now the last step in our digital campaign. This all looks a little bit very analytical, perhaps: conversion metrics, traffic generation, revenue metrics. But it basically means that when we speak conversion metrics, this speaks to how many people you have managed to, for example, get to donate on your website. Or if you are in the business of selling products, how many people have come to your website and you have managed to make a sale. Conversion can also be as simple as people clicking through from your social media platforms through to your website. So this comes into traffic generation. So here we go into a little bit deeper kind of things, such as search engine optimization. So what that speaks to is, if you're writing content and you have specific keywords that are relevant to the content piece, Google, as smart as they are, will index your content based on search engine optimization, and organically, what people, if they search for your content and for a specific keyword through search engine optimization, it will bring your organization as the first listing. This also speaks to digital marketing techniques, but this is a bit more detailed, and we'll go into these things later on in the series, where we look specifically at writing for the web. Revenue metrics, again, these are direct indicators of if your conversion and your traffic efforts are successful, and if it results in profits. If all of your efforts that you've invested are actually fruitful. At the end of this webinar series, we will look at dashboards that will show you exactly how to measure your metrics. Perhaps some of you already have a Facebook page. And in the back end, you will have something called Insights, which shows you how your insights, and these are your metrics, your conversion metrics, your traffic generation, and your revenue metrics. And these indicate to you how well a particular campaign is doing at any given moment. So I'm going to show you an example of an organization that is doing a digital campaign strategy, as I've mentioned in the slides before. So 350.org is a global climate movement. Their online campaigns, grassroots organizing, and mass public actions are coordinated by a global network active in over 188 countries. So 350.org basically are campaigning to stop fossil fuels around the world, and yes, as stated on the screen, a global climate movement. So across the world, they have hubs of people that are doing activist activities. They are doing their online campaigns in their little space, in their countries, from wherever they are. And these are coordinated, and you have a global movement that looks like this, or on their website. So all of their activities culminate into their website. They have a Facebook page, they have their Twitter account, they have their blog, they have microsites. So for Africa, they have 350africa.org, and across the world, they've got their other microsites, all of them feeding back to their global website. And then they have their email campaigns, which are great because they are personalized emails. You don't want to just, again, be in these spaces and feel like you are just a little insignificant somebody that is part of this global digital campaign. You feel like you are someone that is part of something. So as you can see on the screen there, it's Dear Nicole. It makes you feel good. So if you're creating an email campaign as part of your digital campaign strategy, you would want to look at ways that you can personalize your efforts. This is their Facebook page. And again, as I mentioned, you can, as they are part of a big global community, they speak in and they communicate in different languages. And as you can see, they have 399,000 followers, likes on their page. So they are not a very small organization. They are quite big. And speaking in the vernacular, speaking in a language that speaks to a wide audience, well, it just again speaks to this idea of being personal. So when you are busy working on your communication strategy, you want to think along those lines. You want to be able to communicate in a way that your direct audience would be able to understand. This is their Twitter page, and as you can see, they also have a very, very big following of 246,000 followers. So this is indeed a global movement, and perhaps we don't want to be that huge, but it's still exciting to know that you can actually grow to such a big number. Again, another example of the email campaign. Again, this speaks specifically to a digital campaign that they are running here in South Africa, where they are saying to Nedbank, talk about their fossil fuel investments, and haven't heard much so far. This is not good coming from South Africa's only green bank. So what they are doing here is directly speaking to Nedbank and speaking directly to you as an individual to take action. So if you click through on one of those links, it will take you through to their page on their website, to their 350africa.org website, which is the microsite for Africa, where they are running a specific campaign speaking directly to Nedbank, that is supposed to be the Green Bank of Africa. So this is also another way that you can, within your greater communications plans, within your greater digital campaign plan, you can have specific smaller campaigns that speak directly to a specific thing. So here they are speaking directly to Nedbank. An emailer went out, and the links within that emailer brings you here, and here you are able to add your name to the petition. Speaking of petitions, before we get to petitions, then another growing platform is Instagram. Sorry, we have a question from Wazamoyo. Okay, I'll wait for that, but I'll continue in the meantime. So yes, we have Instagram, which is also a big growing platform for images. So here you post your images, and this growing world of hashtagging, everything is hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. You're using hashtags on Twitter, you are using hashtags on Facebook, and now you are able to use hashtags on Instagram as well. So anywhere that you would use a hashtag specific to your organization, specific to your campaign, you would use on whichever platform you are communicating from. And if people click through to that hashtag, they will see a list of content created and generated by you. Another way to make your efforts grow is to participate in partner with other organizations. So many of you may be aware of organizations such as Avaaz. They do email petitions, e-petitions, and so here 350.org has joined forces with Avaaz and created this big campaign, which is a worldwide campaign. So you can think big, think really, really big, because here you are able to, because Avaaz is huge. Here you have an opportunity to really speak to a very big audience. Before I continue with the wrap up of all of the previous slides, Sponelo, do you have a question?
Nicole, I think was Moira coming through as Wendell. So their question is, which is the cheapest way to use social media and their social networks when using cell phones?
Okay, thank you, Wendell. So the cheapest way to use social media on your cell phone would definitely be Twitter, because you be speaking again. Yeah, you are speaking to a very wide audience, and your data costs are barely there. We will be speaking and going into Twitter much deeper in the coming sessions. Wendell, do you by any chance know which one in particular it is? I think it's third or fourth on our list.
I can check the list. Hold on a sec.
Sorry, I don't have it in front of me.
Twitter is on the 30th, so not next week Thursday, the Thursday after.
Awesome. So on the 30th of July, we'll be looking at Twitter. However, we will also be looking at WhatsApp, BBM, as well as Mixit as forms of social media for mobile technologies. You're able to create group conversations, set up group chats where you'll be able to speak to a group of people all in one go. Again, this is very cheap because your data cost will be much lower than when you are downloading big images, or like if you were to go onto Facebook or Instagram and so on. So these kind of platforms are very useful. So I suggest you sign up for both the Twitter and the mobile technologies sessions. Okay, so moving on. Thanks, Wendell. Okay, so just to wrap up on on everything that we've looked at in the previous slides, we want to make sure you develop your goals and your objectives. Be strategic about how you are going to address these. You have to be clear in what your messages are. You have to know exactly which channels you are going to use to reach your audience. Then you also want to incorporate visuals. I showed you a slide of of Instagram, where 350.org are using Instagram as their platform for visuals. You can also use Flickr. In one of the sessions in the series, we'll be looking at the platforms that you can use for image sharing. We'll also look at YouTube later on for video sharing. These are also, again, these are a little bit more expensive as part of your digital campaign, but you don't have to be using it all the time, every time. You can just use these as once-offs, or again on Facebook, for example, you are able to share short video clips, or even 2-minute video clips for that matter. So, and all of these kind of things you can be recording while out in the field from your cell phone. So things are getting much cheaper. Our world is getting smaller, and we are able to share on various platforms at any given time. So you want to integrate with all of your channels. Then you want to create consistency. When in the session where we'll look at writing for the web, we will also look at what time is best to write a post. So for example, you can have a whole social media campaign happening. And I mentioned the insights that you can use for Facebook. You'll be able to tell at what time people are reading your Facebook posts. So for example, people are waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and the first thing they do is check their Facebook. So a good time to schedule a tweet, because yes, you can schedule, a Facebook status, because yes, you can schedule a Facebook status. So you can schedule it for 6 o'clock in the morning, and that would have the highest reach. Then you can schedule it for another one for 10 o'clock in the morning, because that is when people will maybe be taking their tea time. Then you can have one at lunchtime, and another at 2 o'clock for their tea time again, and then one for 4 or 5 o'clock once they're on their way home. So this is all part of a strategy. It's not just about pushing status updates. It's about when your audience is also when are they engaging, and when are they on these platforms. So it's about sustainability, and it's about this idea of consistency, and then measuring your success. In the slides, one of the slides, previous slides, we looked at the conversion. We don't want to just pump all our energy and efforts into doing and participating in these platforms all for nothing, because and not having anybody actually engaging with us or making a donation. You want to actually see that your efforts are being fruitful. So for us as NGOs operating in this NGO world and in this CSO space, you also want to read blogs. You want to converge all your media. So it's not just about being on Facebook. You want to also make sure that they come back to your website, because ultimately that is where all of your information sits. That is where all of your content is. That is where your news and your information is. That is where your donation link is. So you want to direct your listeners back to your website. You want to convince them to participate. You want them to come back tomorrow and see what your next blog is going to be all about. So it's about being persuasive in your communication efforts. So make it sustainable. It should be easy for you as well as for your others, for staff within the organization. You don't want it to become this heavy thing that's going to bog you down every day. Oh gosh, I have to go and sit on Twitter. I have to sit on Facebook. What is my next Facebook status update going to be all about? So this is all about being strategic. Your digital campaign strategy should be incorporated into your communication strategy. So we also want to think about our communication, who will be responsible for what at what point. For many of us, perhaps some of you on the webinar right now could be the director of the organization. Some of you might even be the intern. Who in the organization will be responsible for what at what time? So, for example, you will be participating in a conference, and you send the intern to be the participant in this conference. So, what you would have to give the intern clear objectives as to what the outcome of that conference, what you are communicating about that conference. So what did you capture and grasp and get out of that conference? And also then the intern should be in a position to share your organization perspective, opinion about whatever it is at this conference. So if basically what I'm saying is that everyone within the organization should be participating in your online spaces. However, thought needs to be given to, if I'm the director of the organization and I'm the intern is responsible for social media, but you are following all your donors, and your donor organization or fund organization poses a question to you, do you think the intern would be in a position to answer specific questions? So these are conversations that you as an organization needs to be having as part of your digital campaign strategy. It needs to work for all of you, but it also needs to be part of your everyday activities, because it is and it has become a part of our everyday activities. You also want to promote yourself. So in our explanation around digital campaigning, we spoke about promoting ourselves, about getting brand exposure. So you as an organization wants to sell yourself. As funny as that sounds, you want to be seen, you want to be heard. So you want to generate some exposure for your organization and ultimately make a sale. You want to be able to sell your products, if that is what you do, or you want to get donations in, or you want to just be heard. So promote yourselves. Then analyze. This comes back to our conversion. It is important that we analyze our activities, because you don't just want to be operating in these spaces and then it is not fruitful. So analyze. And that is the end of today's session. So I thank you all for listening. I hope it made sense, and it will piqued your interest to come back to the next sessions, where we'll go into each specific platform in more depth. Thank you, Wendell.
Thanks, Nicole. That was really, really interesting. I think we're going to have a question and answer session. as well as if anybody's got really nice examples. You know, Nicole, you were talking about strategies, and I think sometimes it seems like such an intimidating thing to do, to develop a strategy for your social media. So if any partners on the webinar could also share some of their examples about how they went about developing their strategies and what they found easy to do, what were some of the challenges. So if any of the partners are willing to share some of the examples, that would also be really helpful. So are there any questions out there? Nicole, maybe I've got a question around who and how the organization goes about developing a strategy, and who actually posts online. So what are the policies and what are the best practices in terms of managing your social media presence?
Okay. So yes, as I mentioned, I think it's always best to incorporate your digital campaigning efforts into your communications efforts. So you make it part of your communication strategy. I'm sure all of our organizations has a communications department. This needs to be where it starts. And these as the communications department, you will determine who does what at what given point. I mentioned in my session now that you'd find that there's a question or comment that is directed to that is regarding funding, or that is a little bit more higher level than for the intern to be managing, or for the intern to be answering. So there it is, there as a communications department, you have to set up governance policies, who will respond at what given time. So for example, you can actually have the intern responsible for posting statuses, but the director will also have, so on your Facebook, for example, you have you are able to give somebody rights to respond to queries, who can see the back end. I'm sure maybe some of you have seen the back end of a website, or the back end of a Facebook page. So you give somebody the editorial role to be able to post content, to create the posts, but again, using that word, editorial. It needs to start with the communications manager. They would, and as I mentioned, you need to set specific goals and objectives. So what is the goal of your communication? So your main message is going out onto your website, and from that you would extract what would go onto Facebook and what will go onto Twitter, and who would be responsible. So as an organization, you need to create an editorial policy around all of who does what.
Okay. And could you maybe share on the blog some of the good templates or practices that you might have in terms of what goes into a strategy, how you might write it up, and some of the policies around social media?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, that is part of this webinar series going forward, that at the end of this we should have something that looks like a digital strategy, but for the immediate, I will provide that.
Oh, thanks.
Okay.
Mbulelo?
So you'd like to link Twitter and Facebook. Okay, there is on Facebook, on Twitter, there is a way that you can link your Facebook to your Twitter account, so that if you do a Twitter post, it would go onto Facebook and vice versa. So those are things we would look at in the webinar going forward. And also, if I may, another platform, another dashboard that we would also be looking at in the last webinar, in fact, is our dashboards called TweetDeck or Hootsuite. These are ways that you can manage your platforms from one space. So you are able to schedule a tweet, you are able to schedule a Facebook post at the same for whatever time on these platforms, making it very easy for you to not have to worry about, okay, I have to wake up at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning to write a Facebook status update. You can actually schedule it on these kind of platforms, and we'll be looking at these platforms in detail at the end of the webinar series. Thanks for the reminder of the dates, Wendell. Hope to see you all participating in the ones going forward.
And there's a question from Elizabeth.
Elspeth.
Are there any examples of organizations that are able to build an organizational personality or identity that is both political but also gives a face, as if you are connecting to a person, to an organization? Hope that makes sense.
It does, and I'm not able to provide that right off the top of my head. Elspeth, please, we'll provide that answer on the blog.
I have seen some organizations that we support. I know TU Tululwazi Uzivikele up in northern KwaZulu-Natal. They have a older woman as their face of the organization, and they post and tweet as a person as opposed to an organization, which I thought was quite an interesting alternative to putting your organization front and center. Maybe we can ask TU to chat a little bit about why they chose to put a person at the center of the organization as opposed to their name or their brand.
Yes, you actually see that happening in the private sector as well. The banks do that. FNB has who they call Steve as their character that they've created to speak on behalf of the company. So in the private sector, yes, you see that happening much more as a more personal way of speaking and addressing an audience. But I'm going to look into the political one.
Elizabeth, I don't know if you've got audio on your computer, but you're welcome to ask the question, or if you'd like to.
No, I'm good.
You're okay. Yeah, sure, we can hear you.
I actually love this typing and talking to Nicole. So
All right, well, we'll let you carry on typing then.
the responses are fine. Just for me, it's just such an abstract thing sometimes.
Yeah.
Facebook and that for me is a challenge. The other thing that I maybe also wanted to ask, you talked about LinkedIn as one example, and I can't recall having seen organization file and then linking that to their staff profiles. Is that possible? That you also have a LinkedIn profile as an organization, including individual staff members and their profiles?
I'm sorry, I missed that last part, Elspeth. LinkedIn or LinkedIn?
I'm asking people to also as an organization. Metal.
The connection is bad there.
If I'm hearing you correctly, Elizabeth, are you asking whether individual profiles can be linked to the organization's profile online?
Because if that is the question, in fact the question, yes, you are able to. And what happens is in the back, when the individual will make a post, the individual will act as the organization page. It would not be as the individual. It would not appear as Elspeth making the status update. It would appear as the organization making the status. So again, speaking about this back end, this whole dashboard in the back end, you as the creator of the Facebook page, the organization Facebook page, you would then assign roles to specific individuals. within the organization, and they would then have specific rights, and they would be limited to what they can actually see and do. So you are able to, so in today's Facebook, it's a whole shopping world at the back end. You are able to sponsor posts. This means that if you as an individual, if you look at your page on Facebook, you'll see millions of ads happening on the right hand side. That is because that company or organization has paid Facebook to have their profile, their page sponsored. Then you're also able to boost a post. So you pay for something. You pay for your status update to appear on people's timelines at any given time of the day. So those statuses that you think that just appear on your page, and you're like, where did this come from? I'm not following them. That's because that company or organization has paid for their status update to be boosted. So as an individual, you will have a role to be able to boost and sponsor, but then you must be the one with a credit card paying for this, and you are able to do these things in the back end. And as the creator of the page, you will assign these roles to whoever within the organization.
And Elspeth, I was thinking about your question as well, in terms of how do you speak as an organization, and do you want the voices of your staff to also come into how your organization is represented in the public? So it's an interesting question, because for me, we often want to restrict access to your public profile, but in a way you're wanting to open it up and ensure that individuals have access to be able to post for the organization as well. So it's an interesting, alternative to restricting access to opening it up.
Yeah. But I guess if you're working for an organization, I would assume that you would all have the same opinion. However, well, as an organization. So if you are speaking on behalf of the organization, it would be as a collective. Yeah, well, I guess that speaks to individual, and this is a question many organizations often have is like, so I am interested in the party scene, but my profile on my Facebook profile speaks about my work, and all of a sudden I'm at a party and I'm dancing and I'm looking like whatever. So this again speaks about the policy that you as an organization will establish. Do you want the outside world to see your personal life, or do you want to create a facade and be holier than thou? Or so it's again, this is organization policy, what the kind of policies that you as an organization will set up and establish.
Thanks, Nicole. I think that was really helpful.
Oh, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very exciting space, growing space as well. And you are absolutely correct in saying that we should think about using professional sites, and especially in terms of the kind of content that is being published through LinkedIn today. If you open your emails, if you are on LinkedIn, I'm sure every day, I'm sure you receive the emails that with the content that has been written by partners or people within your network. So it's pulled through into your email and collated into one email that's in your inbox. So absolutely, it is one of the best tools to highlight and profile yourself in a much more professional space. And it is a growing platform that needs to be profiled. So perhaps that is one of the platforms that we should actually use, incorporate into our webinar series.
Maybe we can see where we can squeeze it in.
Yeah, because I do agree.
Yeah, LinkedIn seems to be a growing platform. in terms of organizations profiling themselves.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets a bit confusing. I don't know what other people's experiences are, but sometimes it does feel like you get a bit bombarded when people are very active on many platforms. It does feel a bit like you're getting, whatever platform you go onto, you're seeing messages from the same organization.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can do too much social media.
I guess that's why one of the things I mentioned in the presentation is that you need to be selective of where you are operating in. Be strategic. Start off with one and then progress to the next. And this also speaks to monitoring and measuring your efforts, because it would be pointless being in Facebook, being operating and pumping all your energy and your activities into Facebook, and at the end of the day, it's not generating the whatever your outcomes that you've set out. So again, it's about being strategic and just playing around. You can start off with Facebook, you can start off with Twitter and then progress into the other ones. And again, it's about also doing your homework. See where your partners, where your networks are operating in. So if you see, Elspeth, if you see that your partners are operating, or your audiences are operating mostly in LinkedIn, then that's a good space to be in. I'm seeing so many donor organizations, for that matter, that are sending through content, that are posting content that they've written as to how NGOs can be more strategic in ABC, or their research that they are releasing that they think is pertinent to the work that they do or others are doing. So it's a good space to be in, and I think it's for you as an organization just to do your homework and decide for yourself which would be most useful for you.
That sounds like a good plan. Okay, so do you think, are there any more questions from anybody? Have we missed any questions, Nick? Nope, I think we're all done. Oh, there we go. So we have a question from Elspeth. How do you get intergenerational staff right? We have both an older audience and a much younger audience in our constituencies.
This speaks to, well, from my experience, Elspeth, this speaks to your communication messaging. You can, again, you think about what time your audiences are online. Think your youth is online throughout the day. So at that time you can be pushing messages at you. In their case, you can be pushing messages at any given point. Older audience, think about the person starting at 6 o'clock, going for tea at 10, going for lunch at 12, people that are stuck in their ways, for example. Older generation are getting into Facebook, they're getting into Twitter, they are active in these spaces. Do not take for granted that they are old, that they would not be there, because our world is technology driven now. So they are there. Just think about how you are framing and phrasing your content, and this is the real starting point, is about how you are phrasing your content and how you are addressing them. Because you can be speaking to youth and you can be saying things like woohoo, and your older audience would be like, no, this is not for me. So it's just about your communication messaging and thinking about when, and being strategic about when and where they will be. So again, youth, if you think youth, the spaces they would generally be operating in now are in Twitter and your spaces like Instagram, because they're busy posting selfies of themselves. You want to be there because they are there. Older audiences, they are the ones that you would find more likely on LinkedIn, because the kind of content that you find on LinkedIn are more thought leadership content. So it's researched content. So Facebook is a all-round space, because my mother's there, my aunts are there, my uncles are there, and I'm sure the same for many of you. So it's about the kind of content that you're pushing to those audiences and on which platform or which channel you are using. Hope that answers you, Elspeth. Thank you.
There we go, Nicole, over to you.
Right. So in our next webinar, we will look at Facebook, the ins and outs of Facebook. So I've spoken a lot about the Facebook dashboard and how it looks, the insights, and these things such as the whale tail, which looks at measuring how many people have, how many likes your page has grown to. And that just another thing is you can have a profile and then you can have a Facebook page. All of these things are just a big headache, or at least it sounds like it, but it's actually not so bad. And we'll look at all of these ins and outs in the next session next week, Thursday. I hope you will all attend. And then, as I've mentioned in this throughout this webinar, our digital campaigning efforts involves Facebook. It involves Twitter, blogging being platforms like Blogspot, WordPress. Then you get Instagram, and you have Flickr, where you can share your photographs. You have YouTube, a channel where you can post all your videos. YouTube, by the way, is the second largest search engine. So if you are not Googling a word, you are searching for a video. Then you have mobile technologies, where we'll look at WhatsApp and Mixit and all of these, and BBM chats. So we'll be able to look at how you can set up a group chat and be able to get a whole lot of people in one chat, exactly like we're doing right now, by the way, but just in a chat form. And then the next one, writing for the web, which is especially important because it looks at writing for all of the above platforms and how you can make sure that Google is finding your content in an organic way where you're not actually paying for pay-per-click. So then we'll look at managing your digital campaign. So making this sustainable, making sure that all of your efforts actually add up to something and you're not just doing all of this, being online every hour of the day, and it just means nothing ultimately. And then monitoring, measuring, and reporting on your digital campaigns, so that it all works for you and your efforts are fruitful. So see you all in the next 9 weeks. Or hear from you at least.
And then just to let you know that the recordings of the webinars will be posted onto the blog, which we'll send around an email to the group that joined today, and you can go and share it with your colleagues, see if anybody else might be interested in watching it, as well as other resources. Nicole will put up some good examples of different people's strategies around the topics that we chat about. And then you're also welcome to ask questions, and we'll see how we can possibly respond to those questions as well. So go on to the WordPress and start engaging.
Yay. And if anybody has a question or anything they'd like to share with me, please feel free to email me as well or call me.
And if you'd like to share your experiences at one of the webinars that are coming up, so if you've got a really good Twitter campaign that you've used and you'd like to share it with others, you're also welcome to make contact with either Nicole or myself, and we'll give you a slot in the webinar to be able to share some of your examples and practices.
Great.
So thank you very much for joining us, and thanks, Nicole, for taking us through a really interesting session. And I hope to see you all next week, Thursday at 2 o'clock, and we'll be looking at Facebook and learning about how we can use it better for our organizations. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Wendell.
Cheers,
Bye,
Nicole.
everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for
Bye.
attending.